Hey folks, today we're going to take a look at a game that is currently seeking funding on Kickstarter. That game is called Plucky Penguins and is from MagicWorks Games. Now if you like what you see throughout the rest of this preview video, I'm going to encourage you to go to the official Kickstarter project page. You can do that by following the link in the top corner of your screen, as well as down in the description section underneath this video. Go to the page, find out more information than I could possibly tell you here, and hopefully consider backing the project. Now Plucky Penguins is a competitive game for 2 to 8 players. You and each player is a penguin who is smarter than average penguin, I should say, who is trying to gain control of this legendary island, this island of ice, and keep control of it because it has like the most fish. It's just a primo spot. But of course, life is not always easy for a penguin, and in this case, a giant walrus has taken residence there, and it is surrounded by a pod of orcas swirling around in the water. But you want it anyways, and of course, in addition to those threats, you have the other players that you have to stave off. The goal is to be the last penguin man or woman left standing on that ice, and whoever can eliminate all the competition and be that penguin is going to be the winner of the game. It's just a little bit more complicated than that, so let me go ahead and give you a brief overview of the game with a prototype copy of Plucky Penguins. So do bear in mind that what you see in this version of the game may change in the final version, and that is, of course, why you should go to the Kickstarter page to find out more information. But in any event, we will do that, and then we are going to come back and discuss it further. Plucky Penguins is a competitive game for 2 to 8 players. Each player is a penguin trying to gain control of a legendary island. To do so, they have to eliminate the competition while avoiding a hungry walrus and a pod of orcas. Be the last penguin left standing on the island and you'll be the winner of the game. To set up the game, lay out the game board and place the walrus token in the center. Give each player a penguin card either randomly or by choice. Penguins each have a unique special ability that either helps you directly or hinders your opponents. Some abilities can only be used on your turn, last until the end of the round, or can be used at any time, even on another player's turn. Once everyone has a penguin, you'll each take a corresponding penguin figure and place it on one of the 12 corner ice spaces. There are 3 separate decks of cards: Action, Orca, and Walrus. Shuffle each of them, then deal each player 4 action cards. Make a stock of fish tokens within reach of all players. Finally, randomly choose someone to be the start player and begin. Turns take place in clockwise order. At the beginning of your turn, draw another action card. At the end of the turn, your hand limit is 4, and you'll have to discard if you have more than that. Action cards have a variety of special effects that can be used with the same timing as penguin abilities. They can help stave off the orcas or the walrus, or manipulate your opponents to your advantage. You can play as many cards as you want in a round, so long as the timing and effect are allowed. After drawing a card, you can move up to 2 times. Movement is always from one space to an adjacent space, with no diagonal movements allowed. If at the beginning of a movement you're in a water space, your next movement will move you an additional free space. There are 4 ice holes on the center mass. If players end their turn on a space with a fishing hole, at the end of the round they will receive a fish token. You can't get fish from the same hole twice in a row. You'll need to move on to another hole first, then come back to it. You also can't get fish if the walrus is in the same space or adjacent to your space, which is considered the walrus's area of effect. Speaking of that, after every penguin has taken their turn, the walrus will move 2 spaces towards the nearest penguin. If more than one penguin is equally close, it moves towards the closest penguin with the most fish. If more than one of the closest penguins has the same amount of fish, the penguin leader will decide. Then, starting with the penguin leader, every player who is in the water must draw an Orca event card and resolve it, and every player in the Walrus's area of effect must draw a Walrus event card and resolve it. You won't do this on the first round. Some of the cards will simply be setbacks for the players, like losing fish or cards, but some of the cards say that the player is eaten by the Orcas or the Walrus, eliminating them completely from the game. However, these cards have an evade score, and if you spend the amount of fish shown, you can dodge the predator's attack. After this, the round ends. The next player in order becomes the penguin leader, persistent effect cards are discarded, and another round begins. When only 2 players are left in the game, both immediately draw back up to 4 cards. The 2 penguins can't fish anymore, and they can't end their turn off the central island willingly. Also, the walrus now moves 3 spaces every round. When only 1 penguin is left standing, they are the winner of the game. That is Plucky Penguins. Well, Plucky Penguins is that all-around, general, family-style, casual game that really anyone can get behind because, of course, who doesn't like penguins, right? So right off the bat, the theme is solid. You have the very colorful, high-quality artwork that depicts the penguins in a variety of different versions of penguins, as well as the orca and walrus cards, of course. And even though they are your mortal enemies trying to eat you, they're very bright and cheerful looking, so you don't really feel too worried about that. But so you have this very light theme, but on top of that, just very fast, simple but fast and strategic gameplay. So it's all about that movement of the penguins, right? So very simple. On your turn, you can move up to 2 spaces, and you get an extra move if you start off in the water, or an extra space of movement. But you have to very carefully look at how things are positioned on the board, not only in relation to where the walrus is at any given point and trying to avoid staying out of the water because of the orcas, but also where the other players are. The walrus is going to move towards the closest penguin, or the closest penguin who has the most fish if there's a tie for the closest. So you have to keep these things in mind. You never know what action cards the other players are going to use or their special power against you. So you need to be keeping your distance from the threats, including your rivals, but at the same time trying to get as much fish as possible because you're going to have to draw something at some point. Unless you stay off in the corner, which means you're just sitting there and doing nothing, you are going to have to be interacting with these threats. And if you draw these event cards, you need to be able to have the fish ready to stave off an attack and be that last penguin left standing. And things get more and more brutal if you're down to the last 2 as well. Because then the walrus is moving faster. You can't go off the main center ice unless you have no choice, things like that. So the game is just, as penguins drop, so to speak, the game is amping up and hurtling towards this end game, and you have to be ready for that. You have to be staving off the threats as they come, but also you can't fish in the end game either, so you need to be stocking up on those as well, making the best use of your power, making the best use of the limited amount of cards that you have, and when you use them and who you use them against, so on and so forth, at the ever-present threat of drawing those event cards from the orcas and the walruses hanging over your head. So, despite the fact that it's very fast to set up, very easy to teach, and very simple from turn to turn, like what you can do, there's a surprising amount of stuff going on under the hood as well, and decisions for you to make. So if any of that sounds like it appeals to you, if you like the theme, if you like the nature of the gameplay, if you like sort of general casual family style games, you might also be able to play with people who want something that's a little bit meatier, don't take my word for it. Go to the official Kickstarter project page and find out even more information than I could possibly tell you here. You can do that by following the link in the top corner of your screen, as well as down in the description section underneath this video. That is Plucky Penguins from Magic Works Games. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, for supporting our sponsors. Take care.